Hi there. There is a meme going around on social media that I would much rather get a house for 30 grand under list price with a 7% rate versus pay 100 grand over list price with a 299 rate. I'm here to do the math. Let's do the math together, okay? So basically, here's our client buying a $700,000 home in February of 2022. They are paying $100,000 over list price in February 22, but they've secured a 299 interest rate. Their monthly payment is $30 to $1149. Okay. The client that is buying in November of 2022 has secured a 699 interest rate, monthly payment of $4,079.09, almost $900 a month more than what they would have been able to secure in a monthly payment in February of 2022. So that already shows that paying higher for a price, getting a lower rate is actually better. However, I want to look at the total cost for this client. And the thing I want us to consider is that the client that's purchasing in November of 2022 is going to refinance. I don't think there's any mortgage professional out there that would argue that at some point the client that's buying with a 7% rate will be refinancing their loan. For the purposes of the demonstration today, I am assuming that the client that's buying in February is not going to refinance. The client buying in November is going to be refinancing in a 12-month period. Fannie Mae is projecting mortgage rates to be in the mid-4s in 2023 every single quarter. So I'm using a 4.5% interest rate, assuming that this client will refinance in 12 months, so in November of 2023. Okay, so let's compare the costs here. The other thing I want to consider is that the average American does not live in their home for 30 years. It's very rare. And so I'm just going to use a 10-year trajectory to compare to say how much will this cost for the average hold. I think 10 is obviously a little bit generous, but let's use 10 years for now. So the client that purchased their house and paid 100 grand over, they are going to pay $170,000 in total cost over 10 years. And when they go to sell their house in 2032, 10 years from purchase, they would have $486,000 on their loan balance. Using a 4% appreciation, their house would be worth $1,184. And their loan balance would be $486,000, and they would have paid $170 grand in total cost. Okay. The client in the middle here, I am going to assume that they had to pay for this first year of 7% cost, which was their total costs were $46,173 for $46,173 was the cost for year one. And then let's assume, I'm going to change this to 9 years on the refinance. And let's look at this refinance for the remaining 9 years. So they will have paid $199,610 for the 9 years of the refinance loan. I'm going to add that to the $46,173 that they paid for year one. That's $246,000 if I round up to the nearest thousand of total cost between years one, year two. Now, most consumers are going to have closing costs on the refinance. If you refinance with our team, you don't. But let's just assume that they don't. A lot of lenders actually are starting to roll out a no closing costs program. So let's assume no closing costs on the refi. So let's just compare $246 for the client that got a 7% rate and refinanced in total cost versus the $170,000. So the difference, 246 minus 170, there's a $76,000 swing in the favor of the person that paid 100 grand over. But then let's look at equity that the client has. So basically, their equity at the time that they go to their loan balance would be 442 on the refinance loan and 503, let's say, on the February loan. 442. So there's a $61,000 balance difference in the loan. So meaning the client that pays less for the house is going to have 61 grand roughly more equity in their home. And there was a $76,000 cost difference. So there's a $15,000 cost difference between the two. A couple other things I would assume. The person in February had to pay for some inspection items. The person in November had some additional interest write-offs on their loan. To be honest with you, I think these two options are pretty comparable, provided that my couple of factors that I suggested, this middle client in November is going to refinance, which I think is very, very likely, and that the client would only retain the house for 10 years. Now, obviously, this is skewed greatly if the client does keep the house as a rental and hold it for a long, long time with a 2.99 rate. Then I would say, yes, it makes a world of sense for you to pay 100 grand over list price to secure a 2.99 rate. Well, now that we know this data, next time rates drop and we go through a global pandemic and we get interest rates in the twos, you should empty out your bank account and pay whatever you have to over list price to secure a property. Just kidding. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the opportunity to do the math on the meme that's been thrown around. Have a great day.